First contact and distress. The deep-sea monitoring station's bioluminescent panels pulsed with increasing urgency as Chief Scientist Nea Val watched the readings with all four of her optical organs. The numbers couldn't be right. They just couldn't. But as she cross-referenced the data for the 12th time, the horrifying truth remained unchanged. The deep-sea currents that had sustained her people's civilization for millennia were shifting. The Mercalli, masters of underwater biotechnology and architects of living cities, were facing an extinction-level event. Director Xandra must see this immediately, she whispered, her translucent fins rippling with anxiety. The living walls of the monitoring station sensed her distress, changing from their usual calm blue to a worried purple. Within hours, the Mercalli High Council assembled in the Grand Sphere, their most sacred meeting place. 200 of the most brilliant minds among their species floated in the perfectly temperature-controlled water, their bodies naturally arranged in concentric circles around Director Xandra. The senior leader's age-whitened scales caught the light from the bioluminescent algae gardens that lined the sphere's walls. The data is conclusive. Nea Val projected her thoughts to the assembled council, her natural telepathy carrying both information and emotion. The thermal currents that power our cities and sustain our food chains are shifting. Within 2 planetary cycles, they will bypass our civilization entirely. Our biotechnology cannot adapt quickly enough to compensate. The collected minds of the council rippled with shock and fear. Their cities were marvels of biological engineering. Entire metropolises grown from specially cultivated coral and symbiotic organisms. But these living cities required specific conditions to survive. Without the warm currents, everything they had built would die. We've detected multiple habitable worlds within reach, offered Science Minister Cole Jen, his fins trembling slightly. But none with the deep ocean conditions our species requires. We need at least 200 atmospheres of pressure to survive. There is one possibility, Nea Val ventured, knowing her next words would cause controversy. We've been monitoring transmissions from a species that calls themselves humans. They inhabit a world they call Earth, with oceans deep enough to sustain us. The council chamber erupted in telepathic protest. Everyone knew about humans. They were classified as Deathworlders, creatures that evolved on a planet so hostile that they developed incredible physical resilience. They could survive in pressures ranging from 0 to dozens of atmospheres. Their bodies could endure temperature swings that would kill most sentient species. They were even capable of surviving direct exposure to their solar radiation. Impossible, declared Security Minister Velcor. Humans are dangerous. Their historical records show constant conflict. They've barely achieved faster than light travel, and already their ships are more heavily armored than any in the known galaxy. We cannot risk contact. Director Xandra raised one elegant fin, immediately silencing the council. Show us what you've learned about them, Nea Val. Everything. Nea Val activated the holographic projectors, filling the water with images and data collected from intercepted human transmissions. Yes, humans are physically powerful, and their history contains violence. But look here. Their underwater vehicles regularly dive to pressures that would crush most species. They've built habitats in their deepest trenches. And this, she highlighted a particular sequence of images. They routinely risk their lives to save others, even members of different species. They maintain entire organizations dedicated to helping those in need. The council watched in fascination as footage played of human rescue divers helping trapped marine mammals, of their ships braving terrible storms to save strangers, of their doctors working tirelessly to heal the sick. They are strong, Nea Val concluded, but they use that strength to protect. Their historical records show that when faced with extinction-level events, they unite and fight with incredible determination. That's exactly what we need now. Director Xandra was quiet for a long moment, her ancient mind considering all possibilities. Finally, she spoke. Begin composing a message. If we are to survive, we must take this risk. The human strength could doom us, or save us. We have no choice but to find out which. As Nea Vel worked with the communications team to craft their distress signal, she studied more human transmissions. She learned their languages, analyzed their cultures, and with each passing hour became more convinced that these frightening Deathworlders might be exactly what her people needed. The message they finally composed was simple. To the people of Earth, we are the Merculli, a species facing extinction. Our deep ocean civilization requires conditions your world possesses. We seek refuge and offer our biotechnology in exchange for sanctuary. Please respond. As the message beamed across space toward Earth, Nea Vel watched the thermal current readings continue their inexorable shift. Now all they could do was wait and hope that humanity's reputation for helping those in need would extend even to aliens who looked nothing like them. Little did she know that humanity's response would exceed their wildest expectations, and that this desperate call for help would forge a partnership that would change both species forever. Operation Deep Rescue. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the UES Challenger, Earth's most advanced deep space rescue vessel, watching her crew prepare for the most ambitious mission in human history. The massive ship's cargo bays housed specially designed deep-sea transport pods, each one a marvel of human engineering designed to safely move an alien species that required crushing oceanic pressures to survive. Final equipment check. First contact team, prepare for descent, she ordered. Let's introduce ourselves to our new neighbors. The descent vehicle, specially designed for extreme depths, carried Sarah and a small team including Dr. Patel and Commander Rodriguez. As they plunged through the alien ocean, the water around them grew darker and heavier. At 2,000 meters, their lights illuminated the first signs of Merculli architecture, graceful spires of living coral that pulsed with internal light. Pressure holding steady at 220 atmospheres, Rodriguez reported. Hull integrity at 100%. We're operating well within safety margins. Finally, they'd reached the designated meeting point, a massive structure that their sensors identified as a diplomatic reception chamber. Through the reinforced viewport, Sarah saw their welcoming committee. The Merculli were beautiful creatures, their translucent bodies naturally bioluminescent, with 4 eyes adapted to the eternal darkness of the deep ocean. Using the communications protocols they'd developed over the past months, Sarah transmitted their first direct message. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Ship Challenger. We're here to help. The response came immediately, carried on carefully modulated sound waves that their computers translated. Welcome, humans. We feared you wouldn't come in time. Sarah smiled, even though the aliens couldn't see the expression through her pressure suit. We've brought our biggest ships, our best technology, and our most experienced deep-sea teams. Now let's work together and save your people. As she spoke those words, more human ships were already entering orbit, carrying pressure pods and portable habitat modules. The greatest rescue mission in human history was about to begin, and humanity was ready to prove that being a Deathworlder didn't make them monsters. It made them uniquely qualified to be saviors. Worlds collide. The massive pressure pod descended through the darkening waters of the Merculli homeworld, its reinforced hull creaking under pressures that would crush most spacecraft. Inside, Lieutenant Emma Torres watched through specialized cameras as another group of Merculli families entered the pod's aquatic chamber, their bioluminescent bodies creating dancing patterns in the darkness. Pressure stable at 235 atmospheres, she reported to the Challenger. Loading procedure at 70% capacity. Emma couldn't help but marvel at how the Merculli children, despite their species' dire situation, seemed fascinated by the human technology surrounding them. Their natural bioluminescence pulsed with curious patterns as they observed the pod systems. In the adjacent chamber, Dr. Patel worked alongside Nea Vel, combining human and Merculli technology to maintain the precise conditions needed for transport. The alien scientist's thoughts carried both worry and wonder as she communicated with the human team. Your bodies, Nea Vel projected, her thoughts tinged with amazement. They adapt to pressure changes that would tear our cells apart. Yet your movements are so precise, so careful with our equipment. Dr. Paddle smiled behind her pressure suit's faceplate. We evolved to survive rapid pressure and temperature changes. Earth's oceans taught us to be both strong and gentle. She adjusted a control panel, stabilizing the pod's interior current flow. But your biotechnology, it's revolutionary. These living walls actually process toxins and generate oxygen more efficiently than our best synthetic systems. Above them, more human ships arrived in orbit, each carrying specialized equipment and personnel. The evacuation was proceeding faster than planned, thanks to the unexpected synergy between human and Merkelli technologies. The aliens' ability to communicate telepathically with their living architecture made the transfer of entire city sections possible, while human pressure resistance and engineering allowed for rapid transport setup. Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the comm. All teams be advised. We're tracking major thermal current disruptions in Sector 7. Adjust evacuation routes accordingly. In the Merkelli High Council chamber, now largely emptied of its original inhabitants, Director Zanrao worked with Commander Rodriguez to coordinate the next phase of the evacuation. The ancient leader's white scales reflected the emergency lighting as she reviewed the latest data. Your species continues to surprise us, she communicated to Rodriguez. When we first detected your broadcasts, many feared you. They said your violence, your ability to survive conditions that kill other life forms, made you too dangerous to contact. Rodriguez checked the structural integrity readings of the chamber before responding. We learned long ago that strength means nothing without compassion. Humanity's history taught us that lesson, sometimes harshly. A group of human deep-sea specialists passed by, their powered armor allowing them to move efficiently through the crushing depths. They were helping to disassemble crucial portions of Merkelli biotechnology for transport, their enhanced strength making them perfect for the task. Each piece had to be kept alive, maintained in precise conditions for the journey to Earth. In orbit, Sarah Chen received updated reports from the surface teams. The Merkelli's living cities were being evacuated methodically, section by section. Earth's deep ocean trenches were being prepared to receive them, with human scientists working around the clock to ensure compatible conditions. Admiral, called out her sensor officer, we're detecting increasing instability in the current systems. The Merkelli predictions were accurate. Their entire oceanic ecosystem is beginning to shift. Sarah opened a channel to all teams. This is Admiral Chen. Environmental degradation is accelerating. All teams proceed to Phase 2 evacuation protocols. Prioritize cultural and scientific archives after essential personnel. In the depths, Emma Torres watched as Merkelli archivists worked with human technicians to transfer generations of scientific knowledge into secure storage. The aliens' biological data storage systems were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Living crystals that contained vast amounts of information in their molecular structure. Your history, one of the archivists communicated to Emma, speaks of many times your people faced extinction. Yet you survived, adapted, grew stronger. How? Emma helped secure another crystal matrix for transport before responding. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our physical resilience. It's our refusal to accept failure when lives are at stake. We look at impossible situations and say there must be a way. And then we find it. The archivist's bioluminescence pulsed with what Emma had learned to recognize as understanding. Perhaps that is why the currents changed now. The universe knew we needed teachers in survival. A tremor ran through the water, causing the structure around them to shudder. The great thermal currents that had sustained Merkelli civilization were growing more unstable by the hour. But in the face of this crisis, two very different species were discovering that their differences made them stronger together. As another pressure pod was loaded for transport, Dr. Patel made a final adjustment to its biological support systems. Look at this, she called to Nayaval, pointing to where human technology interfaced with Merkelli living architecture. The systems aren't just compatible. They're actually improving each other's efficiency. Your biotech is learning from our machines, and our machines are adapting to your biological patterns. Neaval's response carried a complex emotion that the translation systems rendered as hopeful wonder. Perhaps this is the beginning of something greater than a rescue. Perhaps this is the birth of a new kind of civilization, one that combines human determination with Merkelly wisdom. Above them, the Challenger prepared to receive another group of evacuees. It holds now a carefully maintained alien ecosystem. Humanity's reputation as Deathworlders was being rewritten. They were still the species that could survive where others could not, but now they were using that strength to ensure others survived too. Breaking point. The emergency alarms erupted across all frequencies as the ocean floor began to shake. Deep beneath the remaining Merkelly cities, the shifting thermal currents had triggered something the scientists had feared but hoped wouldn't happen: a cascade of underwater earthquakes. All teams, brace for impact. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos. Structural integrity reports from all stations now. In the depths, Emma Torres and her team were supervising the transfer of the last major Merkelly archive when the first shockwave hit. The living architecture around them groaned under forces it was never designed to withstand. Through the reinforced viewport of her pressure suit, she watched in horror as cracks began spreading through the crystal-like walls. The biomechanical support systems are failing. Neaval's thoughts projected urgently. The earthquake is disrupting the neural networks that maintain structural cohesion. If the buildings lose consciousness, they'll collapse. Commander Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. We've got multiple structural failures in sectors 3 through 7. The evacuation pods can't reach the lower levels. The passages are becoming too unstable. Dr. Patel, working with a team of Merkelly scientists in the Central Research Hub, quickly analyzed the data flowing through their combined human-alien monitoring systems. The quake has accelerated the current shift. The entire oceanic shelf is becoming unstable. We have hours at most before total ecosystem collapse. Admiral Chen's response was immediate. This is now a worst-case scenario evacuation. All non-essential operations suspended. Focus on getting people out. But in the lowest levels of the largest remaining city, over 300 Merkelly were trapped, including many of their youngest. The normal evacuation routes were cut off, and the pressure at that depth was too extreme, even for human rescue vehicles. That's when Director Zanra made an unprecedented suggestion. Your bodies can survive these pressures briefly, yes, with your powered armor. Sarah Chen quickly grasped what the Merkelly leader was suggesting. Yes, but our suits aren't designed for prolonged exposure at those depths. We'd have maybe 20 minutes before the pressure would compromise even our reinforced equipment. We have an alternative. Zanra's thoughts carried a mix of desperation and hope. Our biotechnology includes emergency pressure chambers, living pods designed to protect us during deep-sea volcanic events. They're not meant for long-term use, but they could protect your people long enough to reach the trapped citizens. Dr. Patel's eyes widened as she reviewed the biological specifications. The pods would actually bond with our suits, creating a hybrid life support system. It's incredibly risky, but it's their only chance, Emma finished. She stepped forward. I volunteer. Within minutes, other human deep-sea specialists joined her. They watched in amazement as the Merkelly emergency pods, looking like translucent, pulsing eggs, were brought forward. The integration process was unlike anything they'd experienced. The living technology reached out with tendrils of bioluminescent tissue, merging with their suit systems. The pods are adapting to your biology, Neaval explained, her thoughts tinged with worry. They'll help you withstand the pressure, but they weren't designed for your species. The strain on your bodies will be intense. Emma felt the pod's consciousness touch her mind as it integrated with her suit. The sensation was alien but somehow reassuring. How many pods do we have? 12. Director Zanra answered. Enough for one rescue team. Admiral Chen's voice was tense but determined. Lieutenant Torres, you understand the risks, even with the pods at that depth. "With respect, Admiral," Emma interrupted, "we're not leaving anyone behind. That's not what humans do." The rescue team descended into the darkness, their hybrid suits glowing with combined human and Merkeli technology. The pressure at this depth was beyond anything their training had prepared them for. Even through the biological protection, they could feel it trying to crush them. They found the trapped Merkeli huddled in a partially collapsed chamber. The aliens' bioluminescence had dimmed from stress and fear, but brightened with hope at the sight of their rescuers. Using their suits' enhanced strength and the pod's pressure resistance, the human team began clearing a path through the debris. 15 minutes until suit integrity fails, Rodriguez warned over the comm. Emma and her team worked with desperate efficiency, helping Merkeli families through the cleared passage toward the waiting evacuation vehicles above. The children's thoughts brushed against their minds, carrying gratitude and amazement at these strange creatures who would risk so much for them. Another quake rocked the structure. A support beam crashed down, trapping Emma's leg. The pressure pod around her suit pulsed with emergency signals as its biological systems struggled to maintain integrity. "Leave me," she started to say, but suddenly found herself surrounded by Merkeli. The aliens linked together, their combined telepathic strength interfacing with her pod's neural network. Through their shared connection, she felt them helping the pod redistribute its protective field, buying precious minutes. Working together, humans and Merkeli got everyone out just as the structure began its final collapse. As their evacuation pods raced toward the surface, Emma watched the ancient city crumble into darkness. But unlike its inhabitants, this time there was no one left behind to be buried in its ruins. In orbit, Admiral Chen received the final headcount. Against all odds, the combined human Merkeli rescue effort had succeeded. The cost had been high. 3 human suits had suffered partial failures, leaving their wearers with injuries that would take months to heal. But every single Merkeli had been saved. Perhaps, Director Zanrak communicated to the gathered human leaders, "We were wrong to fear your strength. We saw your capacity for violence and forgot that the same force that lets you survive terrible conditions also drives you to help others survive them too." As the last ships prepared to depart for Earth, carrying precious cargo of both people and cultural heritage, humanity's reputation among the stars was changing. They were still Deathworlders, still capable of surviving conditions that would kill most species. But now they were becoming known for something else, their unshakable determination to use that strength in service of life, not death. A new dawn. 6 months after the Great Evacuation, the Mariana Trench had become home to something unprecedented in Earth's history. Where once there was only darkness and crushing pressure, a new civilization bloomed, a harmonious blend of human and Merkeli ingenuity. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the observation dome of New Dawn Station, named in honor of the Merkeli's original colony, the reinforced transparent aluminum sphere, a triumph of human engineering, looked out onto a breathtaking vista of bioluminescent structures. Living buildings grown from Merkeli biotechnology pulsed with gentle light, their organic forms flowing seamlessly into the human-built pressure frameworks that supported them. "The neural integration of the city's systems is exceeding our most optimistic projections," Dr. Paddle reported, her augmented eyes scanning through streams of data. "The Merkeli living architecture has actually begun evolving to work better with our technology. It's learning from us, just as we're learning from it." Through the dome's specialized sensors, they could see Emma Torres leading a training session with a mixed group of human and Merkeli deep-sea explorers. The humans wore new generation pressure suits, products of combined species technology that allowed them to work comfortably at depths that would have been impossible just months ago. Beside them, Merkeli moved gracefully through the water, their natural bioluminescence supplemented by human-designed communication systems. "To think we once feared to contact you." Nayaval's thoughts reached them clearly through the new telepathic interfaces humans had adapted from Merkeli designs. The alien scientist's form glowed with contentment as she worked at a console that responded to both physical and mental commands. We saw your strength and assumed it meant danger. We never imagined it would be our salvation." Director Zanra, who had chosen to remain with her people rather than take the ceremonial leadership position in the new council, drifted into the observation dome. Her ancient scales now bore a small human-designed environmental monitor, a symbol of the integration between their peoples. "The latest survey results are promising," she projected. "The deep ocean currents here are even more stable than those of our homeworld. The projections suggest our new colony could sustain itself for thousands of years." She turned her 4 eyes towards Sarah. "And what of the human response to our presence?" Sarah smiled. "Public support continues to grow. Your people's biotechnology has already revolutionized our medical field. The living membranes you use for pressure resistance, we've adapted them to create better protection for premature infants. Your neural interface systems are helping paralyzed people move again." Commander Rodriguez entered the dome, his movements precise despite the enormous pressure outside. "The first group of human children has completed their adaptation therapy. They're able to mentally interface with Mercalli technology at almost native levels. And the Mercalli children," he grinned, "they're already asking when they can try simplified versions of our pressure suits." Through the dome, they watched a human repair team working alongside Mercalli architects to expand the colony. The humans' physical strength and pressure resistance made them perfect for the heavy construction work, while the Mercalli's intimate connection with their living technology ensured everything grew and integrated properly. "We've received another contact request," Sarah mentioned, turning to Zanra. "The Galactic Council is interested in how our species have managed to work together so successfully. Apparently, we're becoming something of a model for interspecies cooperation. They're particularly intrigued by how a Deathworlder species turned out to be so essential for preservation of life," Dr. Patel added, her eyes twinkling. Some of the more traditional council members seemed quite confused by it all. A group of Mercalli children swam past the dome, their bodies glowing with excitement as they headed to their first lesson in human engineering principles. Following them was a human teacher, her pressure suit decorated with bioluminescent patterns that mimicked Mercalli emotional expressions, a gift from her students. "Perhaps," Nayaval suggested, her thoughts carrying a touch of amusement, "we should tell them that strength without compassion is meaningless, but strength guided by wisdom and empathy can achieve the impossible." Emma Torres joined them in the dome, removing her helmet after passing through the pressure lock. Her face bore scars from the rescue mission 6 months ago, but her eyes were bright. "The new deep-sea mining protocols are ready for review," she reported. "The Mercalli biotechnology lets us extract resources with virtually no environmental impact, and our pressure resistance lets us reach deposits that were previously inaccessible." Sarah nodded, remembering how far they'd come. When the Mercalli first arrived, some humans had feared them as invaders, while many aliens had warned the Mercalli that seeking help from Deathworlders would lead to their doom. Instead, both species had found something extraordinary, a partnership that made them both stronger. Outside the dome, Earth's deepest ocean teemed with new life and purpose. The lights of the growing colony stretched for kilometers, a testament to what could be achieved when fear was replaced by trust, and when strength was used not to dominate, but to protect and nurture. "We still call you Deathworlders," Director Zanra projected, her thoughts carrying deep appreciation. "But now we understand. You evolved not just to survive harsh conditions, but to ensure others could survive them too. Your strength isn't a threat to the galaxy, it's a gift to it." As if to punctuate her words, a whale song echoed through the depths. The massive creatures had become regular visitors to the colony, drawn by the harmonious blend of human and Mercalli songs that rippled through the water. Like everything else about this unprecedented partnership, it was something beautiful that no one had expected. The future stretched before them like the endless ocean, full of possibilities that neither species could have achieved alone. Humanity's reputation as Deathworlders remained, but its meaning had changed forever. They were the species that thrived in hostile conditions not to conquer, but to extend a helping hand to those in need. And in doing so, they had found not just allies, but family among the stars.